There are stories that the world tells again and again about kings, generals, presidents. But few stories burn as fiercely as that of a man who built an empire from dust and fear. His name would echo through decades, whispered in police radios and sung in the slums. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, the boy from Medellín. To understand Escobar, you have to understand where he came from. In the 1950s, Medellín wasn't the modern city we see today. It was a patchwork of hills, tin-roofed homes, and narrow alleys carved by the desperate. The city's beauty, the mountains, the mist, the music hid a darker truth, inequality so deep it could swallow generations. Pablo was born on December 1st, 1949, in Rio Negro, Colombia, a small town just outside Medellín. His father, Abel, was a humble farmer. His mother, Hermilda, a strict schoolteacher. They weren't poor by choice. They were poor by design, victims of a system that rewarded corruption and punished honesty. From an early age, Pablo noticed something others missed. The people who played by the rules stayed broke, and those who didn't, those who bent the truth, who dared to take, they thrived. He was a clever student, but not patient. He wanted more than grades. He wanted control. As a teenager, he began hustling small scams, selling fake lottery tickets, forging school report cards for classmates, stealing bicycles and radios. He learned the art of the street, persuasion, risk, and silence. Every lie was a lesson, every arrest a negotiation. The first shipment was a test. The second was a promise. By the third, Pablo Escobar was no longer a small-time hustler. He was a man who'd glimpsed his destiny and refused to look away. Each flight brought back more money than he'd ever seen. He used that money not to celebrate, but to build. He bought trucks, warehouses, and properties under fake names. He invested in the community, because in Medellín, charity was camouflage. He paid for roads in the barrios where the government never came. He built soccer fields for the kids, handed out cash to mothers. The poor began to say his name with reverence, Don Pablo. They didn't see the cocaine, only the kindness. And Pablo understood something the government didn't. Loyalty can't be bought with fear alone. It must be mixed with gratitude. Meanwhile, the cocaine business was exploding. In Miami, disco lights flashed over bathroom stalls lined with white dust. Athletes, movie stars, even politicians were using it. The demand was endless, and the Americans didn't care where it came from. Every kilo that left Colombia came back multiplied in profit, but moving that much powder wasn't easy. Pablo needed a network, reliable, loyal, ruthless. That's when he met the men who would form the backbone of the Medellín cartel. There was Carlos Letter, a wild visionary who controlled Norman's Cay, a small island in the Bahamas that became the bridge between Colombia and Miami. Planes would land there, refuel, and continue north. It was paradise turned pipeline. Then came Jose Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha, El Mexicano, a man who didn't smile, didn't hesitate, and didn't forgive. He handled distribution with military precision, turning shipments into a global operation. By 1982, Pablo Escobar was no longer hiding. He didn't have to. His face was on the front page of every Colombian newspaper, smiling next to politicians, priests, and soccer stars. The boy who once sold stolen tombstones was now shaking hands with senators. But Escobar wanted something more dangerous than money. He wanted respect. He'd watched the wealthy families of Medellín look down on him his whole life. The old money, the politicians, the industrial elites, they treated men like him as insects who'd crawled out of the slums. So, Pablo decided he would not just join their world, he would own it. That same year, He joined Colombia's Liberal Party, the same party that had built half the country's government. He funded local campaigns, built housing projects, and distributed thousands of pesos to the poor. In the eyes of the people, he wasn't a criminal. He was Robin Hood reborn. Billboards across Medellín showed his face next to the slogan, "For a new Colombia, Pablo Escobar, the people's man." He gave away food, money, and hope, things the government had long forgotten to offer. When he visited the slums, mothers cried, men applauded, children followed his car through the streets, chanting his name. By the mid-1980s, Pablo Escobar was more powerful than the Colombian government itself. He controlled judges, police commanders, and mayors. Entire cities obeyed his word faster than a presidential decree. He was no longer just a man, he was a shadow over the nation. And yet, shadows can't exist without light, and the light was closing in. The war began quietly, with whispers of revenge. But soon, Medellín became a city under siege. Car bombs exploded outside police stations, reporters were gunned down in daylight, and fear became the national language. Escobar had declared total war on the state. He funded a private army of over 3,000 men, Los Sicarios, young boys from the slums, promised money, respect, and immortality in exchange for loyalty.